Boy handcuffed at school, but a call from the principal makes the officer stop everything. Michael Thompson was breathing heavily as he tried to explain to the officer that this was a terrible mistake. The hallway of Joseph Martin High School was completely silent, broken only by the heavy footsteps of the law enforcement officer and the muffled sobs of the 15-year-old boy. That's when the principal's phone rang. William Edward Johnson answered hastily, but what he heard on the other end of the line made his face turn completely pale. "It can't be, after all these years," the principal murmured, looking directly at the boy being handcuffed. Officer Richard Wilson stopped what he was doing. In his 25-year career, he had learned to recognize when something important was happening. The principal's trembling voice and the way he looked at Michael caught his attention. "Principal William, what's going on?" asked Michael, feeling the handcuffs tighten around his thin wrists. "Michael, is your full name Michael Thompson Collins?" the principal asked, his voice choked. "Yes, sir." "Why are you asking that now?" Officer Richard felt his heart race. That last name echoed in his mind like thunder on a stormy day. Collins. He hadn't heard that name in 15 years, not since his life had changed forever. "Who's on the line?" Richard asked, abandoning protocol. "It's Mrs. Anderson, who worked in the school office. She's telling me about a teacher who worked here a long time ago. A teacher named Rebecca Collins." Michael felt his legs wobble. His mother. The principal was talking about his mother. "My mom worked here," Michael said, his voice barely audible. "But she left when I was very little." Richard unlocked the handcuffs from the boy's hands, as if they were on fire. Rebecca, the name he had tried to forget for 15 years, but which remained etched in his heart like a scar that never healed. "Principal William, I need to speak with this Mrs. Anderson," Richard said, his voice hoarse. The principal handed the phone to the officer, who held it with trembling hands. Michael didn't understand what was happening, but he sensed that something much bigger than a misunderstanding was unfolding in that hallway. "Hello, Mrs. Anderson. This is Officer Richard Wilson. Can you tell me about this teacher, Rebecca?" The elderly voice on the other end spoke slowly. "Oh, my dear, Rebecca was a special girl. She worked here but had to leave suddenly. She was expecting a baby and, well, the situation was complicated. The baby's father didn't know anything." Richard leaned against the wall to keep from falling. Michael watched him with a mix of confusion and recognition he couldn't explain. "Mrs. Anderson, this officer talking to you, what's his name again?" the principal asked, taking the phone back. "Richard Wilson, why?" "Michael, what's your father's name?" "I don't know. Grandma never told me. I just know my mom loved him very much, but they couldn't stay together." The silence that followed was broken by Mrs. Anderson's voice on the speakerphone. "William, I remember her talking about a young man named Richard. He was an officer too. She cried a lot when she spoke about him." Michael looked at Richard, who had completely lost the color in his face. The man's eyes were fixed on the boy, as if he were seeing a ghost. "How old are you, Michael?" 15, sir. I'll be 16 in 2 months." Richard did the math quickly. 16 years ago, he and Rebecca had been in a relationship. He was 25, she was 22. They were young, in love, making plans together. Until one day, she simply disappeared. "Your mother, where is she now?" asked Richard, dreading the answer. Michael lowered his eyes and the principal placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "She passed away 3 years ago, sir. She got sick and didn't make it." The pain that shot through Richard's chest was physical. Rebecca. His Rebecca was gone, and he hadn't even known. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. "Principal William, I need to call Michael's grandma," said the boy, pulling an old cell phone from his pocket. "She needs to come here." "Of course, Michael. Use the office phone." While Michael made the call, Richard and William spoke in hushed tones. "William, do you remember Rebecca?" "Of course I remember. She was an excellent teacher, but she left the school suddenly. Said she had personal matters to attend to. We never saw her again." "Was she pregnant when she left?" "Now that you mention it, she was acting strange those last few weeks. Pale, nauseous." It made sense. Michael returned from the office with red eyes. Grandma's on her way. She said she needed to tell me something very important. The three of them waited in heavy silence. Richard couldn't stop staring at Michael, searching for familiar traits, resemblances that confirmed what his heart already knew. The boy had the same dark eyes as him, the same high forehead, the same habit of biting his lip when nervous. How had he not noticed before? "Michael, why were you being arrested?" "Mr. Anderson said I took his watch, an antique watch that belonged to his grandfather. But I swear I didn't take it, sir. I'd never take anything from anyone." "The cameras showed someone leaving his classroom with a backpack just like yours." "But my backpack is common, sir. Half the school has the same one." Richard believed the boy. There was something in Michael's sincerity that moved him deeply. Let's forget about the watch for now. There are more important things happening here. 15 minutes later, a white-haired woman rushed through the school doors. Grace Collins, 68 years old, stopped mid-hallway when she saw Richard. "It can't be... Richard? Mrs. Collins? You're Rebecca's mother." "Yes, my dear. And you? You're the Richard my daughter loved." Michael looked back and forth, trying to understand the connection between the people he loved most and the officer who had tried to arrest him minutes earlier. "Grandma, what's going on?" Grace approached her grandson and took his hands. "Michael, I should have told you this long ago, but your mother made me promise never to speak of it, and I always respected her wishes." "Tell me what, Grandma?" "About your father." Grace looked at Richard, who was visibly shaken. "Richard, my daughter never stopped loving you. But when she found out she was expecting, she also discovered you were engaged to someone else." "What? That's not true. I was never engaged to anyone. Patricia Miller's family had announced the engagement in the papers. Rebecca saw the news and believed you'd chosen to marry her for family interests." Richard buried his face in his hands. Patricia Miller, daughter of a prominent businessman in town. His parents had indeed tried to arrange the marriage, but he'd always refused. "Mrs. Collins, I never agreed to marry Patricia. I told my parents I'd only marry for love, and I loved Rebecca." "But the news was in the paper, dear. Rebecca was devastated. She thought you were toying with her, that she was just a fling until you married someone from your social class." Michael struggled to process it all. His mother had run away because she thought the man she loved was marrying someone else. "Grandma, but why didn't she ever tell him the truth?" "Because she was afraid, Michael. Afraid you'd be rejected. Afraid of disrupting his life. She was too proud to say she was pregnant by a man she thought would marry someone else." Richard felt like the world revolved around him. All those years searching for Rebecca, never understanding why she'd disappeared. And she was carrying his child. "I looked for her for years, Mrs. Grace. Never stopped searching." "I know, my boy. She knew too. That's why she moved far away, to the countryside of Pennsylvania. She was afraid you'd find her and discover the truth about Michael." "But why was she afraid of that?" "Because she thought you'd do the right thing only out of obligation, and she didn't want love out of pity or duty. She wanted you to be happy with your real family." Mr. Anderson came running down the hallway holding the old watch. "William, sorry for the confusion. I found my watch in the desk drawer. I put it there myself yesterday and completely forgot. The boy didn't take anything, but no one cared about the watch anymore." Michael looked at Richard with a mix of hope and fear that broke the officer's heart. "So, you're my dad?" Richard knelt before the boy, placing his hands on his shoulders. "Michael, I didn't know you existed. If I had, I'd never have left you and your mother alone. Never. My mom talked about you, you know. She said you were a good man who fought for justice. That's why I never did anything wrong in my life. I didn't want to disappoint the father I never knew." Tears streamed down Richard's face as he made no effort to hold them back. "Michael, do you want me to be your real dad? I know it's strange. I know you have every right to be angry with me." "I'm not angry with you. Grandma always told me sometimes things happen because of misunderstandings, not because of bad intentions." Grace smiled through her tears. "Rebecca would be happy to know you found each other. She always said the truth would come out one day." "Grandma, do you have the letters Mom wrote?" "I do, my grandson. She wrote many letters to your father but never had the courage to send them. Mrs. Grace, can I read those letters? Of course, my boy. You have the right to know how my daughter felt about you. Principal William, who had silently witnessed everything, approached the group. Sorry to interrupt this moment, but I need to say something. Michael, in 15 years running this school, I've never seen a student as dedicated as you. Your grades are excellent, your behavior is impeccable. Your mother raised an extraordinary boy. Thank you, Principal William. And Richard, I know this must be a shock, but you've just discovered you have a wonderful son. Richard looked at Michael with a mix of pride and sorrow. Michael, I missed 15 years of your life. I can't get that time back, but I can try to be the father you deserve from now on. Dad, I'd really like that. The word Dad echoed down the hallway like music. For the first time in 15 years, Michael had called someone his father. Shall we go home and talk? Grace suggested. I have so much to show you both. Of course, Grandma. Dad, will you come with us? I can, and I really want to, Michael. They left the school together, a family lost to misunderstanding and reunited in the most unlikely way. Michael walked between his father and grandmother, finally whole. In Grace's simple home, Richard saw for the first time traces of the 15 years of his son's life he never knew existed. Childhood photos, report cards, school drawings, all carefully kept by his loving grandmother. Grandma saved everything, Dad. She said one day you'd want to see it. Mrs. Grace, how can I thank you for taking such good care of Michael? No need to thank me, Richard. He's my grandson, my life. But now he has a father, and that makes me so happy. Michael showed Richard his simple room filled with books and study notebooks. I study a lot, Dad. I want to go to college for law to help people like you do. Michael, you can go to any college you want. I'll support you in everything. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course, son. Did you never get married? Richard smiled sadly. Never, Michael. After your mother disappeared, I could never love anyone else. I always hoped to find her one day. Mom never married either. Grandma said she could never forget you. Grace brought a shoebox full of letters. Michael, these are the letters your mother wrote to your father. I think it's time you read them together. Richard took the first letter with trembling hands. It was dated 16 years ago. My dearest Richard, today I found out I'm expecting our son. I wanted to run to you and share the news, but I saw in the paper that you're marrying Patricia. I understand it was just a beautiful dream we lived together. I won't interfere with your life. I'll raise our son alone, but he'll know he has a wonderful father. Richard couldn't keep reading. Tears blurred the words. Dad, don't cry. Mom didn't know the truth. Michael, I searched everywhere for your mother. I went to her house, talked to neighbors, friends. No one knew where she was. She moved to Three Rivers, Dad. She worked as a teacher in a rural school for 10 years. And you were born there? I was, Dad. Grandma went there to stay with Mom during the pregnancy. Grace added, Rebecca didn't want to come back here until you were married. She was afraid of running into you and not knowing how to react. Mrs. Grace, I never married because I never stopped loving your daughter. I know, my son, and she never stopped loving you. Michael took another letter from the box. Dad, do you want me to read this one? It's from my 10th birthday. Go ahead, son. Richard, today our son turned 10. He's just like you, you know. He has your eyes, your determination, your sense of justice. When he grows up and asks about you, I'll tell him he had the most honest and courageous father in the world. I hope one day he can meet you and feel the pride I feel when I talk about the man I loved. Mom talked about you a lot, Dad, especially when I did something right. She said I inherited your honesty. Michael, you're everything a father could dream of in a son. Dad, can I come live with you? The question caught Richard off guard. Michael, I'd love to have you live with me, but what about Grandma? She's taken care of you your whole life. Oh, don't worry about me, Grace said. I have my friends, my life here. But Michael needs to know his father's family too. What family, Grandma? Richard, are your parents still alive? They are, Michael, your grandparents. They've always asked why I never married, never had children. They'll be overjoyed when they find out they have a grandson. Dad, will they like me? Michael, they'll love you just as much as I do. The afternoon flew by as father and son got to know each other. Michael talked about school, friends, and dreams. Richard spoke about his work, what it was like being an officer and the importance of helping others. Dad, can you teach me to drive? Of course, son. When you turn 16, we'll start lessons. And can you take me to see where you work? Absolutely, but only if you promise never to do anything that forces me to arrest you again. Michael laughed for the first time in a long while. I promise, Dad. In fact, I never want to see handcuffs again in my life. Deal. Grace prepared a special dinner to celebrate their reunion. During the meal, she shared stories about Rebecca's childhood and how she dreamed of having a family with Richard. My daughter used to say you two would make a beautiful family, and she was right. Michael is proof of that. Mrs. Grace, I want to help support Michael financially too. At least the 15 years of child support I never paid. Richard, you don't need to feel guilty. You didn't know. But now I do, and I want to take responsibility. Michael looked from one to the other, feeling loved and protected for the first time in his life. Dad, can I keep coming here to see Grandma? Of course, son. Grandma is part of our family too. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. Richard, would you like to stay the night? Grace suggested. I have a comfortable couch and you two still have so much to talk about. If Michael wants me to, I'll stay. I do, Dad. That night, father and son stayed up late, talking about everything and nothing. Michael showed his favorite books, his school projects, his plans for the future. Dad, do you regret anything in life? I regret not searching for your mother more persistently, not finding out about you sooner. And you, Michael, do you regret anything? I regret not asking Grandma more about my father. Maybe if I'd pushed harder, we would have met sooner. Michael, what matters is we found each other now, and from here on out, we'll build our father-son relationship. Dad, can I ask one more thing? Ask as much as you want, son. Will you teach me how to be a police officer? I'll teach you about justice, right and wrong, about protecting people. If you want to be an officer when you grow up, I'll support you. But if you want to be anything else, I'll support you too. Thank you, Dad. The next morning, Richard woke up to the smell of coffee and tapioca Grace was preparing. Michael was already up, studying at the kitchen table. Good morning, Dad. Good morning, son. Do you always wake up early to study? Always. Mom taught me that education is the one thing no one can take from you. Your mother was right. During breakfast, Michael asked a question that changed everything. Dad, can you come to school with me today? I want to introduce you to my friends and teachers. Of course, Michael, but aren't you embarrassed by me? Embarrassed? Dad, I'm proud. I always wanted a father to bring to school. When they arrived at Joseph Martin High School, news of what had happened the day before had already spread. Teachers and staff greeted Richard warmly and curiously. Principal William came to meet them personally. Richard, it's so good to see you here. Michael, how are you feeling? Great, Principal William. I brought my dad to see the school. Richard, Michael is one of our best students. Always has been, but now I see where that determination comes from. Principal William, can you show my dad my work on the display board? Of course, Michael. Come here, Richard. On the school's board were several of Michael's projects. Essays on social justice, posters about human rights, projects on citizenship. Michael, your work covers such important topics. Yeah, Dad. I've always been interested in these things. Guess I got that from you. The history teacher, Mr. Anderson, approached sheepishly. Richard, I'm really sorry about yesterday's misunderstanding. Michael is an exemplary boy. He'd never do anything wrong. Mr. Anderson, these things happen. What matters is everything got cleared up. Michael, can you explain to your dad the project you're working on about public safety? Sure, Dad. I'm working on a project about how the police can work with the community to prevent problems. Want to see? Michael showed Richard a detailed proposal on community policing with smart and feasible ideas. Michael, this is excellent work. You've researched the topic very well. I did, Dad. I've always wanted to better understand the work you do. Michael's classmates cautiously approached. Michael, is this really your dad? Yes, guys, this is my father, Richard. Hi, Uncle Richard. Michael always said he wanted to meet his dad. Really? Michael talked about me. Yes. He said one day he'd meet his father and you'd be a real family. Richard felt his heart tighten. Michael had held on to hope all these years. During recess, father and son walked across the schoolyard. Michael, are you happy here? I am, Dad. I have good friends, teachers who care about me, but I always felt like something was missing. And now, how do you feel? Complete, Dad. For the first time in my life, I feel whole. They sat on a bench under a tree. Dad, can I tell you something? Of course, Michael. Sometimes I used to get angry about not having a dad, especially when I saw my friends with their fathers. But Mom always told me not to be angry because maybe my dad didn't even know I existed. And you believed that. I did. Mom would never lie to me. Michael, your mother was a very wise woman. She was, Dad. And now she must be happy, knowing we found each other. Richard hugged his son, feeling a connection he'd never experienced before. Michael, I promise I'll be the best father I can be. Dad, you already are. Since yesterday, my life has completely changed. When Michael's class ended, they went back to Grace's house together. Grandma, I brought Daddy to see my school. How did it go, sweetheart? It was great. Everyone liked him, and he saw my projects on the board. Mrs. Grace, Michael is a son any father would be proud of. He's always been a special boy, Richard, just like his mother. That afternoon, Richard needed to go home to pick up some clothes and handle work matters. Michael asked to come along. Dad, can I see your house? Of course, son, but it's a bachelor's place, a bit messy. That's okay, Dad. Richard's house was simple but tidy. Michael walked around curiously, taking in every detail. Dad, do you have any pictures of Mom? Richard went to his room and brought out a small photo he kept in the dresser drawer. Just this one, it's the only one left. Michael looked at the photo with emotion. It showed Rebecca smiling, still young. Dad, could I have a copy of this picture? Of course, son. But you have other photos of your mom, right? I do, but this one is special. It's from when you were together. Richard showed Michael the room that could be his. If you ever want to live here, this would be your room. We could buy furniture together, decorate it however you like. Really, Dad? Absolutely, Michael. This is your home too. Michael flopped onto the empty bed, imagining what it would be like living there with his father. Dad, do you cook? Just basic stuff, but we can learn together. Or you can teach me what Grandma taught you. Grandma showed me how to make tapioca, couscous, some simple dishes. Then you'll be my teacher, Professor Michael. They laughed together, and Richard realized how natural it felt to talk with his son, as if they'd known each other for years. Dad, can I make a suggestion? Of course, son. Would you consider transferring to work near my school? That way I could live with you and still go to the same school. Michael, that's a great idea. I'll look into it. It'd be perfect, Dad. Richard called his boss the same day, explaining the situation. Captain, I found out I have a 15-year-old son, and I'd like to request a transfer to be closer to him. Richard, you have a son. How come? It's a long story, Captain, but to sum it up, I reconnected with someone from my past through my son. I see. I'll see what I can do. You're a good officer, Richard. Any precinct would be happy to have you. Thank you, Captain. Michael was anxiously waiting for the answer. So, Dad, what did he say? He said he'll try to arrange my transfer. But even if it doesn't happen right away, we'll figure something out. I can come work here a few times a week until the permanent transfer goes through. That's great, Dad. That night, they had dinner at Grace's house again. Grandma had prepared Michael's favorite dish, roasted chicken with sweet potatoes and salad. Grandma, Dad said I can go live with him. That's wonderful, my grandson, but you'll visit me often, right? Of course, Grandma. You'll come visit us too, won't you, Dad? I will, Michael. Grandma is part of our family. During dinner, Grace shared more stories about Rebecca. Richard, my daughter always said you were the love of her life. Even when she found out she was pregnant and thought you were going to marry someone else, she never spoke ill of you. Mrs. Collins, I'm so sorry for everything you went through because of me. Richard, it wasn't your fault. It was a terrible misunderstanding. No one is to blame. Grandma's right, Dad. Mom always told me sometimes things happen because of misunderstandings, not because of bad intentions. Michael, your mother was truly very wise. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. After dinner, Michael showed Richard the photo album Grandma had put together of his childhood. Dad, look at me on my first day of school. Richard saw a picture of a tiny Michael, smiling with a backpack bigger than him. You were so small, son. I was, Dad. And look here. My first communion. In the photo, Michael looked serious, wearing borrowed but neatly pressed clothes. Michael, why were you so serious? Because that day I asked God to help me find my dad. Michael's words touched Richard deeply. And God answered your prayer, son. He did, Dad. It took 15 years, but he did. Grace brought out another box. Richard, these are the things Rebecca kept from the two of you. She asked me to give them to you if we ever met again. Inside the box were movie tickets from their dates, letters Richard had written to her, and a photo of them at a summer festival. Mrs. Collins, she kept all this. She did, my son. Rebecca never forgot you. Michael looked at his parents' mementos with curiosity and emotion. Dad, you were really happy together, weren't you? We were, Michael. Those were the best months of my life. And of Mom's life, too. She told me about your outings, your conversations, the plans you made. What plans, son? Mom wanted to marry you, have kids, start a family. She dreamed of that. Richard's heart ached. That dream had been cut short by a misunderstanding that cost 15 years of happiness. Michael, now we can build the family your mother dreamed of. You, me, and Grandma. That's right, Dad. We're a family. That night, Richard decided to stay over at Grace's house again. He and Michael talked late into the night. Dad, can you tell me about your job? I can, son. Being a police officer isn't easy. You see a lot of bad things, but you also help a lot of people. Have you ever saved someone? Yes, Michael. I've saved people in dangerous situations, helped solve many family problems, and found lost children. That's so cool, Daddy. That's why I want to be like you. Michael, you can be anything you want. A police officer, a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher. What matters is helping people. I know, Daddy. But I think I inherited your desire to fight for justice. If that's your choice, I'll support you completely. The next morning, Richard received a call from the captain. Richard, I got your transfer approved. You can start working at the station in 2 weeks. Really, Captain, thank you. Richard, I want to meet this son you've discovered. The way you talk about him, he must be a special boy. He is, Captain. He's a wonderful boy. Michael was thrilled with the news. Daddy, so you're really going to live here? Yes, son. We'll be a real family. They began making plans for the move. Michael would help Richard organize the new house, pick out furniture for his room, and decorate the spaces. Daddy, can we put up pictures of Mom around the house? Of course, Michael. Your mother is part of our story. And can we plant a garden in the backyard? Grandma taught me how to grow a few things. Great idea, son. We'll do it together. The days that followed were busy but filled with happiness. Richard arranged his transfer, Michael prepared to have his father living nearby, and Grace was overjoyed seeing her grandson so happy. At school, Michael told everyone his father was moving to town. Michael, your father sounds like a very good man, his English teacher said. He is, ma'am. He's the best dad in the world. And how are you feeling about all this, Michael? I feel complete, ma'am. For the first time in my life, I feel whole. Principal William called Michael for a talk. Michael, I want to congratulate you, not just for your excellent grades, but also for the mature way you've handled this situation. Thank you, Principal William. Your father is lucky to have a son like you, and I'm lucky to have a father like him. Michael, would you like to join the Student Mentor Program? I need responsible students like you. I'd love to, Principal William. I can help younger kids with their studies. Perfect. I'll talk to your parents about it. Michael smiled at hearing the word parents in plural. Now he had a complete family. When Richard arrived to pick him up from school, Michael ran to share the news. Daddy, Principal William asked me to be a student mentor. I'm so proud, son. Will you accept? Yes, Daddy. I want to help other students like my teachers helped me. Michael, you have such a good heart. I learned from Grandma and from the stories Mom told me about you. On the way home, Michael asked an unexpected question. Daddy, would you visit Mom's grave with me? Richard stopped walking. He hadn't thought of that yet. Michael, I'd really like that. Can you take me there? Yes, Daddy. I'll ask Grandma to come with us. Of course, son. We'll all go together. The following Saturday, the three of them went to the cemetery where Rebecca was buried. Richard brought white flowers, her favorite. Standing before the simple headstone, Richard knelt and whispered, Rebecca, I found our son. He's everything we dreamed he'd be. Thank you for taking such good care of him. Michael knelt beside his father. Mom, this is my dad. He's just like you said he was. Good, honest, and kind. Grace cried silently, watching father and son speak to Rebecca. Rebecca, my dear, your family has finally found each other. You can rest in peace. They stayed there for an hour, telling Rebecca about their plans for the future and how happy they'd be together. Daddy, do you think Mom can see us? I think so, Michael. And I think she's happy knowing we're together. I think so too, Dad. On the way back from the cemetery, Michael seemed calmer and at peace. Dad, thank you for coming with me there. Thank you for taking me, son. I needed to say goodbye to your mother and thank her for you. Dad, can I ask you a kind of strange question? Of course, Michael. Do you still love Mom? Richard thought before answering. Michael, I'll always love your mother. She was the great love of my life and gave me the greatest gift I could ever have. You. I'm glad to hear that, Dad. Why, son? Because it means I was conceived with so much love. Michael's words touched Richard deeply. Michael, you were the fruit of the greatest love that ever existed between two people. Thank you, Dad. That night, Richard made an important decision. He called Michael and Grace over for a talk. Mrs. Grace, Michael, I've made a decision. I want you both to come live with me in my house. Dad, are you sure? I am, Michael. We're a family and families live together. Grace was moved. Richard, I don't want to be in your way. Mrs. Grace, you'd never be in the way. You raised my son. You're the mother of the woman I loved. You're my family too. Grandma, please say yes, Michael pleaded. All right, my dears. Let's be a real family. They began organizing the move. Richard's house would need some adjustments, but nothing they couldn't handle together. Dad, can we turn the small living room into a bedroom for Grandma? Of course, Michael. We'll remodel the house however works best for everyone. And can we add a porch in the back? Grandma loves being outdoors. Great idea, son. Grace watched father and son planning their future with a smile. Rebecca would be so happy seeing you like this, she thought. The house renovation became a family project. Richard, Michael, and Grace worked together on weekends, painting walls, arranging furniture, decorating the rooms. Dad, what color should we paint my room? Whatever color you want, Michael. I want light blue like the sky. Light blue is perfect. Michael showed a knack for handiwork, a trait he'd inherited from his father. Michael, you've got a talent for this. Where'd you learn? From Grandma, Dad. She taught me how to fix things around the house. Mrs. Grace, thank you for teaching him all this. Richard, I raised this boy to be a good man, just like his father. During the renovation, curious neighbors came by to meet the new family. Richard, it's wonderful you've found your family, said Mrs. Jenkins, a longtime neighbor. Thank you, Mrs. Jenkins. This is my son, Michael. Nice to meet you, Michael. Your father's always been a good neighbor, very polite. Thank you, Mrs. Jenkins. Now there's three of us. Me, my dad, and my grandma. What a lovely family you make. The story of Richard and Michael spread through the neighborhood. Many were moved by their reunion. It's like something out of a movie, said old John from the bakery. It's a blessing, added Mrs. Brown from the pharmacy. Michael enjoyed the attention, but stayed humble. He'd been raised that way. Dad, everyone's talking about our story. Does that bother you, Michael? No, Dad. I'm proud of our family. I'm very proud too, son. 2 weeks later, Richard started working at the new precinct. The captain greeted him personally. Richard, I heard your story. So glad you reunited with your son. Thank you, Captain. I'm very happy. Does your son want to join the force too? He's interested, but I'll let him decide in his own time. If he's anything like his father, he'll be an excellent officer. Michael made sure to stop by the precinct every day after school to pick up his father. Dad, how was work today? Relax, son. How was your day at school? Great, Dad. I got an A on my math test. Congratulations, Michael. I'm so proud of you. Marcello's co-workers quickly took a liking to Michael. Richard, your son is very polite, said Sergeant Lewis. He sure is, Sergeant. Grandma and his mother raised him well. Does he want to be a police officer? He's considering it, but he still has time to decide. Michael loved listening to the officers' stories, always guided by his father's lessons on right and wrong. Dad, is being a police officer dangerous? It can be, Michael. But when we do our job right, we're protecting good people. Like how you protected me that day at school. Exactly, son. Protection is what we do. At home, the family's routine settled naturally. Grace took care of the house and meals, Richard worked and helped Michael with his studies, while Michael focused on school and helped with chores. Grandma, can I help with dinner? Of course, my grandson. Come help me with the salad. Dad, after dinner, can you help me with my history homework? Of course, Michael, we'll study together. Family nights became the most special part of their day. They ate together, talked about their day, and made plans for the future. Michael, how was school today? Richard asked. It was good, Dad. The gym teacher said I have a talent for running. Do you like running? I do, Dad. It makes me feel free. Then let's see if you can join the school's track team. Really, Dad? Of course, son. I'll talk to the coach. Grace watched their conversations with joy. Rebecca would be so happy seeing you like this, she often thought. Michael was changing. The shy, reserved boy was becoming more confident and outgoing. Dad, can I invite some friends over? Of course, Michael. This is your home too. Thanks, Dad. I want them to meet my family. The following weekend, 3 of Michael's friends came over. Richard welcomed them warmly, and Grace prepared a special snack. Uncle Richard, Michael talks about you all the time, said Peter, one of his friends. It's true, Uncle. He says you're the best dad in the world, added John. Thank you, boys. Michael is the best son in the world, too. They played in the backyard, helped in the garden, and talked about school and soccer. Michael, your family is really cool, said Luke. Yeah, man. Your grandma cooks great, and your dad is super nice, said Peter. Thanks, guys. I'm really happy with my family. After his friends left, Michael hugged his dad and grandma. Thank you for welcoming my friends so well. Michael, your friends are our friends too, said Richard. That's right, my grandson. I really like them, Grace added. That night, Michael reflected deeply. Dad, I've never been this happy in my life. Me neither, son. Finding you was the greatest gift life gave me. Dad, do you think Mom is happy knowing we're a family now? I'm sure she is, Michael. Wherever she is, she's happy seeing us together. Then she made her dream come true, right, Dad? She did, son. The dream of having a complete happy family. Michael smiled and hugged his dad one more time before bed. Good night, Dad. I love you. Good night, son. I love you too. Richard watched Michael sleep for a few minutes. It was hard to believe this wonderful boy was his son, 15 years lost, but now they could build a future full of love and happiness together. In the kitchen, Grace was preparing breakfast for the next day. Mrs. Grace, thank you for everything you've done for Michael, Richard said. Richard, there's no need to thank me. Michael is my life, she replied. But you raised a wonderful son. Rebecca would be proud. She would, yes, and she'd be even prouder seeing the two of you together. Mrs. Grace, can I ask you something? Of course, my dear. Do you think Rebecca would forgive me for not finding out about Michael sooner? Grace stopped what she was doing and looked Richard in the eyes. Richard, my daughter was never angry with you. She left this world loving you and knowing you were a good man. There's nothing to forgive. Thank you, Mrs. Grace. Your words give me peace. Richard, you're a good man. Rebecca chose well when she picked the father of her child. That night, Richard slept peacefully for the first time in 15 years. His family was whole, his heart was at ease, and his life had meaning again. The months that followed were filled with happiness and adjustment. Richard excelled at his new job, Michael continued to be an outstanding student, and Grace took care of the home with love and dedication. The house that once belonged to a lonely man had transformed into a home full of life, laughter, and love. Daddy, can we paint the fence blue? Michael suggested. We can, son. How about blue and white? Perfect, Dad. They spent weekends tending to the house, the garden, and welcoming visits from friends and neighbors. Richard, what a beautiful change your home has gone through, Mrs. Jenkins remarked. It's the power of family, Mrs. Jenkins. A house only becomes a home when there's family inside. Michael grew every day, not just physically but emotionally too. His father's presence had given him a sense of security he'd never known before. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always, Michael. Do you plan to get married again? The question caught Richard off guard. Why do you ask, son? Because sometimes I think you must feel lonely. Michael, I don't feel lonely. I have you and Grandma. We're a complete family. But what if a nice woman comes along who likes you? Michael, if that ever happens, you'll be the first to know. But for now, my priority is being the best father I can be for you. Thank you, Dad. But if it does happen, I'll support you. Thank you, son. At school, Michael continued to excel. His grades were outstanding, his behavior exemplary, and his relationships with classmates and teachers were great. Michael, would you like to join the math competition? His teacher asked. Yes, ma'am. I can study at home with my dad. Of course. Your father can help you a lot. Michael came home excited about the news. Dad, my teacher invited me to join the math competition. That's wonderful, Michael. Of course I'll help you study. Thank you, Dad. With your help, I know I'll do well. They began studying together every night. Richard discovered he had a knack for teaching, and Michael was a dedicated, bright student. Michael, you're very smart. You pick things up quickly. I got that from you, Dad. I think you got it from your mother, too. She was very intelligent. That's true. Grandma always says Mum was the smartest in the family. Grace prepared special snacks for their study sessions. You two study so hard. You need to eat well, she'd say. Thank you, Grandma. Your snacks give me energy to study, Michael replied. The math competition took place 2 months later. Michael was nervous but confident. Dad, what if I can't solve the problems? Michael, you've studied hard. It'll be fine. And even if it's not, what matters is that you tried. Thank you, Dad. With you by my side, I feel safer. Richard took Michael to school on the day of the test and waited outside. Good luck, son. Thank you, Dad. See you soon. 2 hours later, Michael left the school smiling. So, Michael, how did it go? It went well, Dad. I managed to solve almost all the problems. That's great, son. I'm proud of you. Dad, no matter the result, thank you for helping me study. It was my pleasure, Michael. I enjoy studying with you. The results came out a week later. Michael had placed third in the school and qualified for the state round. Dad, I made it to the next round. Congratulations, Michael. I'm so proud. I'll keep studying for the next round. Will you help me? Of course, son. We'll study together. The news of Michael's qualification spread through the school. Principal William congratulated him personally. Michael, congratulations. You'll represent our school in the state round. Thank you, Principal William. I won't let the school down. I'm sure you won't, Michael. You're a source of pride for all of us. At home, they celebrated with a special dinner prepared by Grace. My grandson is a genius, she said proudly. Grandma, don't exaggerate. I just studied hard. With your dad's help, Grace added. That's true, Grandma. Dad is a great teacher. Richard was moved when he heard Michael call him Daddy. It was the first time the boy had used that more affectionate word. "Michael, you called me Daddy." "That's how I think of you, Daddy. As my dad." "Thank you, son. I'm so happy to be your dad." From that day on, Michael always referred to Richard as Daddy, and the officer melted with emotion every time he heard it. The state round of the math competition took place in the state capital. It was Michael's first trip with his father. "Daddy, I'm nervous about the trip." "Why, Michael?" "I've never traveled far from Grandma." "But you'll be with me, son. We'll take care of each other." "That's true, Daddy. With you by my side, I feel safe." They traveled by bus on Friday night. Michael was amazed by the size of the capital. "Daddy, what a big city!" "It really is, Michael. Very different from our town, huh?" "Yeah, but I like ours better. Everyone knows each other there." "I prefer our town too, son." They stayed in a simple hotel near the test site. Michael was thrilled with the room. "Daddy, I've never slept in a hotel before." "Is this your first time? Then let's make the most of it. Can I call Grandma and tell her about it?" "Of course, Michael. She must be anxious to know how we're doing." Michael called Grace and told her all the details of the trip. "Grandma, the hotel has an elevator, and the bathroom has a bathtub." "That's wonderful, my grandson. Enjoy your time with your daddy." "I am, Grandma. Daddy is the best travel companion." On the morning of the test, Michael was calmer. "Daddy, thank you for coming with me. I'm the one who's grateful, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here with you." "Daddy, no matter the result, this trip has already been worth it." "Why, son?" "Because I got to spend time alone with my daddy. That's priceless." Richard hugged his son, moved by his words. "Michael, you're the best son a father could ask for. And you're the best daddy a son could ask for." The test was harder than the last one, but Michael left feeling confident. "So, Michael, how was it?" "It was tough, Daddy, but I think I did well." "I'm sure you did great, son." "Daddy, can I ask for something?" "Of course, Michael." "Can we spend the rest of the day exploring the city? I want to see some places with you." "Of course, son, let's be tourists." They visited a museum, a park, and ate at a unique restaurant. Michael was beaming with happiness. "Daddy, this is the best day of my life." "Why, Michael?" "Because I'm alone with my daddy, discovering new places, having adventures together." "Michael, this is one of the best days of my life too." "Really, Daddy?" "Really, son. Being with you makes me so happy." On the bus ride back, Michael dozed off, leaning on his father's shoulder. Richard watched his son sleep, thinking about how much life had changed since that day at school. From an unknown boy being unjustly arrested, Michael had become the center of Richard's world. The love between father and son had grown naturally, strengthened by the simple moments of everyday life. Grace waited anxiously for them at the bus station. "How was it, my dears?" "It was great, Grandma. Daddy took me all around the city." "And the test, Michael?" "I think it went well, Grandma. But the most important thing was spending this time with Daddy." Grace smiled, seeing the happiness on their faces. "You two make a beautiful pair," she said. "It's true, Grandma. Daddy and I are a team." The competition results came out a month later. Michael had placed 10th in the state, an excellent achievement for someone his age. "Daddy, I got 10th place." "Congratulations, Michael. I'm so proud of you." "I didn't win a medal, but I'm happy with how I did." "Michael, you should be proud of yourself. You competed with the best students in the state." "That's true, Daddy. And all of this was possible because you helped me study." "Michael, the credit is yours. I just helped. You're the one who studied and took the test." The school organized a small ceremony to honor Michael. Principal William made sure to congratulate both father and son. "Richard, you have a brilliant son." "Thank you, Principal William. Michael really is special." "And Michael, congratulations on your achievement. You've made our school proud." "Thank you, Principal William. It was an amazing experience." "Michael, do you plan to pursue a career in STEM?" "I'm not sure yet, Principal William. I like math, but I also enjoy history and English." "You have time to decide. What matters is that you have potential in any field." That evening at home, the family celebrated with a special dinner. "My grandson is a genius," Grace said proudly. "Grandma, I'm not a genius. I just studied hard." With your daddy's help, she added. That's true. Daddy was key to my success. Richard was moved by his son's words. Michael, you're the one who's key to my life. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always, son. Are you happy? The question caught Richard off guard. I'm very happy, Michael. Why? Because sometimes I think maybe you've sacrificed a lot to take care of me. Michael, taking care of you isn't a sacrifice. It's the greatest joy of my life. Are you sure, Daddy? Absolutely sure, son. You complete me. Daddy, I'm really happy too. I'm really happy. I never imagined having a father could be this wonderful. Michael, being your father is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Grace watched their conversation with tears in her eyes. Rebecca, your family is whole and happy, she thought. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this touching story and where you're watching from. Michael found the father he always dreamed of knowing, and Richard discovered he had a wonderful son. Do you believe family love can overcome any obstacle? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.